Hello. Today I have a few things that I'm going to share, and I wasn't quite sure if I should sort of title this How One Thing Can Lead to Another, or Using What You Already Have, or maybe even just simplifying. So that's kind of the theme that I'm going with today. And I'll start with how one thing can lead to another. So these were two artist books that I did not share in the last video. They are two little ones. This one is sort of in a matchbox case, a little hand-bound book, and it is called Open in an Emergency. And I made this during, maybe it might be called the height of the pandemic, when so many things were closed, and these were the things that were open during that time. Pharmacies, banks, interestingly, the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. The beer store was open. The Ontario Cannabis Store was open. Food takeout and delivery. Manufacturing facilities. Convenience stores. Factories. Construction sites. Office buildings. Retail stores, some. Weddings and funerals with fewer than 50 people. I thought this was really interesting what it says about us as a society when these are the things that we keep open in an emergency, in a pandemic. And comparing it to this little book that I made, and this is just a little box case called Things That Are Closed. So at the same time that these things were open, these things were closed. And I created this as an accordion book. Things that are closed, canceled, or postponed. And we've got schools, daycare centers, community centers, libraries, theaters, pools, ice rinks, gyms, massage place, Chapters Indigo, Desserts, underground art supplies, the dentist, except emergencies, provincial park, St. Patrick's Day Parade, Pearl Jam concert, National Home Show, One of a Kind show, Broadway, NBA, NHL, Art Gallery of Ontario, Royal Ontario Museum, dine-in restaurants, bars, Blue Mountain, IKEA, CN Tower, Canada Blooms Show, Stratford Festival, Comic-Con, Hockey Hall of Fame, Royal Botanical Gardens, Toronto Zoo, Ontario Science Centre, etc., etc., etc. Boston Marathon. As you can see, a ton. And we get down here to Ontario courtrooms and the Canada-US border closed. And I created this, like I said a moment ago, because I thought it was such an interesting view on society, on what we keep open and closed during a pandemic, and I wanted to keep that. And when I was looking at those two things, it reminded me of this book. It is called The Opposite Is Also True by Cleo Papanikolas. And I had seen her in an interview talking about this book before I purchased it. And I thought it was really smart. What a smart idea, because really any advice that someone might give you regarding art or life even, someone else might tell you the opposite, and it could also be true. So I'm going to go to this page here. It's a really beautiful book and really interesting. You can just read a little bit at a time and pick it up here and there. And it's actually meant to be a workbook where you take both pieces of advice and then you try them both out and see what works best for you. I'm going to turn to this page here, and it's called Use the Right Tool for the Job versus Simplify Your Toolkit. In this book, I believe she only used two colors. I think she used indigo blue and yellow ochre. I think that's what she said in the interview. But as you can see, all of the illustrations are mostly blue, which led me to the next book that I have called David Hockney's Yorkshire Sketchbook. And it's lovely. It's got some really beautiful but very simple looking artworks, which are monochromatic, similar to Cleo's book, using only a limited palette, really limited. So this to me looks like just one color. So I wanted to give it a try. And this is what I used. I used indigo just like Cleo did in her book. And I took one of my favorite photos and I tried to do it with just one gouache color. So I dried this gouache into a little pan, just put it in and let it dry. I put in a little bit of, I can't think of what it's called now, but I'll put it in the description. A little drop of that, mixed it in and let it dry. And you can re-wet it, just sprayed it a little bit. And this is what I made, this canoeing painting. And the reason I wanted to try this is because I always struggle with what kind of kit am I going to take with me when I go camping or fishing or go out for a hike. And it's like something that I keep thinking about. What am I going to use? What am I going to use? So if I could really simplify it down to a very small kit, that would be amazing. But I also think that the opposite is also true and love to have lots of art supplies. So I'm reusing this tin, and I've used it a couple of times, and I just put paint right in the tin. At one point, brought a water brush and a little pencil with my sketchbook, and a couple, I'm sure I also had red and yellow here as well, and probably this. I also, after I tried it just in the tin, I put them into little pans and dried those out and took that with me, which was kind of cool, but it wasn't perfect, so I kept trying. Normally, when I'm in the studio, I use this gouache palette, so I can squeeze in all of my favorite colors, and it keeps it wet and liquid and really nice to paint with. But that's very difficult to take outside because it spills if it gets jostled at all. I purchased this Carandache Gouache Set because it looked small on Amazon, and I thought it would be really cool because they are already dried, so they would be better than my dried pans. But it's huge and it's heavy, and what I did was I used it here in my studio, and when I tried to take it out, it's just too big and bulky, even though it's nice to have all the colors. So I took an old tin, watercolor tin, and I moved all of the gouache over to this smaller palette, which it can work. It's not too bad, but it wasn't perfect also. I'll put those brushes back in. Then I purchased this little bit of kit. It's pretty cool. So this holds your brushes while you've got it out and about. It comes like this. Hopefully you can see that. And this is a collapsible water container. So I've taken this out a few times to paint outside, and it's pretty cool. And it opens up to look like this so that you've got your freshly squeezed gouache. So it's very juicy, not dried out at all. It's really nice. But also, even though this silicone lid fits on pretty well, it gets really messy if this pops upside down by mistake. So it's really good, still not perfect. The next thing I bought was this Winsor and Newton Field box. It comes with, this one came with Cotman watercolors. It folds up to look like this. This one I have taken on a trip, and it's really cool. I really like it. The top comes off and becomes your water container. This opens up to reveal different mixing palettes. This mixing palette, first if you take this out, it's a little brush, very tiny. And this inside is a water container. So this whole thing, when you're using it, can look like this with the water container clipped on. And there's a thumb ring at the bottom so that you can hold it. And you could even just put it like this without the thumb ring. and hold it like this on your sketchbook. It's very, very cool. I really like it. I took out the Cotman watercolors and put in pans of dried gouache in all of my favorite colors. And then I just take a fresh tube of white so that I can squeeze that out as I need it. Got a little sponge in here. I added these pans as well. So I've added more colors than actually come with it, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12. Yeah, so I added 4 more, and I have a little sponge just in case I don't have a paper towel or a cloth of some kind. So really, this is the best that I have found. It's convenient. It doesn't spill. It's not messy. It contains everything you need. If I used that brush, it would be even better. I take along a water brush and a tube of white gouache. So I really like that. The other thing that I had bought recently, not for travel, even though I thought I might be able to until I got it, and it's huge, is the Himi Gouache that not everybody, a lot of people are talking about. And the colors are so vibrant. It's really a nice big set. You get a lot for your money, but I find them a little bit difficult to paint with because I'm so used to my Winsor & Newton professional gouache that this is just different, and I hate to waste things. So what I've been doing is taking things that I'm not using, such as this. Even though I did use it for quite a while, there's still tons left, and I didn't want to waste it. So what I did was I took some old pieces of jelly printing that I had created, which I really liked the colors and I liked the textures, but I really wasn't going to be doing anything with it. So I cut it up and I glued it on. And then I think these 2 pieces of paper I also cut from something else and put them on. And then what I did was I decided to just take the orange from the jelly printing and go for it. So what I did was think about my color scheme, and I decided to go for complementary. I took that orange and went with blue, got a couple of different shades of blue and a couple of orange, and put that together. And I like it. And you can see the brush strokes. Probably it's very messy and fast and fun. So it was lots of fun to make this. Some of the other ones in here, I took old paint from the palette that I was using and just put it on in random places and came back later and put in different things. I don't like these colors. It just looks dirty to me, but the overall composition, I might try it again with a different color. And then I took what was left on this palette and went for a monochromatic theme, except for the little paint that's come sneaking through from the other side. So that's how sort of one thing led to another, starting with my books that I did not share. The book for The Opposite Is Also True, David Hockney's sketchbook, my little minimal painting of the canoe, and then all of my gouache supplies, trying to find the best thing for taking outside of the house, and also how to use up some of the things that we already have. So using old paintings and old artwork for collage and as a starting point to choose colors is a really fun way to use up your supplies. So this Himi Gouache, I would not say it was a waste of money because I'm having so much fun just playing and going in the sketchbook. Some of them I like, and some of them I don't, but I'm just going for some color combinations to see what I might like. And one of the other things that I'll share in my next video is how I might take something random and that I don't like, but still use it to inform a next piece of art. And that is it for today. Hopefully you got something out of it. And I would love to hear how you might use things in your sketchbooks and in your studio, on how you use things up instead of letting them sit forever. Thank you very much to everybody who has commented and liked. I really appreciate your support. See you next time.